We've got more police chiefs behaving badly, in this case, really badly. William Anthony Spivey is an ex-North Carolina police chief who faked his own death, allegedly via suicide, to evade consequences for the criminal charges that he is facing. So thankfully, he has been found. That's how we know about this. But the Horry County Police Department put up this notice saying that he had been arrested, saying that there had been community tips that had led them to him. Last spring, he was relieved of duty due to a misconduct investigation. He was charged with over 70 felonies, including evidence mishandling, drug trafficking, and embezzling. This is the individual, by the way, William Anthony Spivey. So what actually happened? Well, facing all those charges, he decided, nope, I'm out. That's it. I'm done. Deal me out. He was reported missing in Columbus County, North Carolina back on February 21st after he failed to return from a fishing trip on the Lumber River. The investigators spoke to Spivey's friends and family at the scene, and quote, family members described the incident as a possible suicide. Along with the boat, the investigators collected handwritten letters and a .22 caliber rifle with a discharged round still inside. After 3 days of searching and collecting video from surveillance systems and conducting interviews, it became even more apparent that the suicide was staged. Investigators were able to track him to an apartment complex in Loris, where he was taken into custody. You know what? Sometimes, Sabrina, it just all gets to be too much, but I don't know, you did the crime. According to the idiom, you're supposed to do the time. You don't get to just disappear. And if you are gonna disappear, you should go farther than the next town over. What do you think?
What? A police officer evading the consequences of their actions? I am so shocked. I cannot believe it. I wonder what he thought was gonna happen. And this guy was chief? Wow.
Yeah, no, he worked his way up and apparently used the opportunity to engage in all of the most fun crimes, I guess. But like, we didn't on the pre-show this morning. We talked about another police chief who had used apparently used the N-word at a crime scene, and he was now being investigated. It was a murder scene. I believe the body was still there, and he went there and just decided to casually drop some racial slurs. Just because they're in charge doesn't mean they're better. It can mean that, but in practice, look at this guy. Like, he got into this position of power and abused his authority, probably along the way too. And then when the time came for justice, he decided to stage, like, not only like I can't stress how laughable this is. If it wasn't clear, there was a boat, there was a gun, and a shell had been discharged. But did he not think that when there was no body there, that would be suspicious? What is the idea that he went there, shot himself, and then wandered off to make it interesting? I don't even understand what the plan was. Was he hoping to give rise to like the next, like the greatest unsolved mysteries or whatever? They're gonna see through that, buddy. And he's a police chief. If anyone should know that, it's him.
Yeah, if anything, you probably should have just made it seem like an accident and not necessarily like leave behind like a suicide note like that. Cause yeah, where would you go from there? All your stuff is still there. Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking, but yeah, clearly not the best and brightest over there, huh?
No, not at all. And like, how do we expect a system to be reformed when the people who would, at least hypothetically, let's say we were to try to reform it, these people would be in charge? Like, we need to change the way that cops are trained and all that, obviously. But we also need to go through the leadership. Like, these are the people that are setting the culture for the, like, what do we expect that the cops working under this guy when he was a police chief were like? What were they doing? If they were breaking the law, are we supposed to hope that he was at least taking other people's crimes seriously? It is difficult to imagine how a system like this can be reformed. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.